Why do we try to wear a wool tallis katan?
So the idea of wool tallis cotton as opposed to cotton is actually a halacha thing. So let's try and go through at least a few points of it, of why it's important in halacha, the concept of a wool tallis cotton. Concept number one is, in the Torah, a beged, a garment, is considered either wool or linen. And therefore, linen we don't wear for a tallis or a tallis cotton because we'll use usually wool strings. Now, even though you can put linen strings on it, but in the time when they had tallis, so you used to have a wool string, and there would become the issue, even though you're allowed to, but what if someone puts it when it's not really, etc. So therefore, generally, it says not to wear a linen tallis cotton or tallis gadol. But regarding a wool tallis, min ha-Torah, it's only called a beged, a garment, when it's wool. Midrabanan, it's called a garment even when it's made of other types of material. So number one, if I want to fulfill the mitzvah of tallis, of tzitzis, the best way, then why shouldn't I wear something which is considered a beged according to the Torah? That's one reason why one should be more careful to wear dafka wool. Now let's go look further. That's still not a reason why you shouldn't be able to make a bracha, because you make a bracha even when something's midrabanan. So although it's not the best way, but you still would be able to make a bracha on it. There's another issue with a tallis, and that is that essentially the beged and the strings should be made of the same type of material. Which means if it's wool, the strings should be wool strings. If it's cotton, the strings should be cotton strings. There are opinions that even when it's cotton, you could still be yoitze with wool strings. But the Alter Rebbe brings that one should be choishesh for the opinions that when it's cotton, it has to have dafke cotton strings. Now, it's ones who make the tzitzis have to be made lishma. They have to be made for the sake of tzitzis, and therefore they're made by the companies, special people that make it, and generally they make only wool strings. So you can't make your own cotton strings. And there becomes the issue that if you're putting wool strings on a cotton tallis, the Alter Rebbe says you shouldn't make a brach on it. You should be choishesh that maybe safik brachas lahakol, that maybe there's no obligation, or maybe you're not being yoitze this inyan of tzitzis with cotton, and therefore you should hear the bracha from someone else. So that's according to the Alter Rebbe. It's to the extent that one shouldn't even make a bracha on cotton tzitzis with wool strings, which is what it generally is. So one shouldn't even make a bracha. And that's why, as Chabad Chassidim that follow the psak of the Alter Rebbe, we're trying to do it the best way, but also if someone, for whatever reason, is wearing a cotton, tallis cotton, he shouldn't either make a bracha, he should be yotze from someone else.